And welcome to another short little video, and in this one we're going to be setting the computer up, and I have here a brief, and it's the BTEC brief, and the occasional scenario is that we're employed by a PC manufacturer and we're going to set it up and check that things are right, and then we're going to do it for a visually impaired user. So we're going to put things like high contrast on. So let's turn the camera around, point it at the computer in question and see what we've got. So here's the computer in question, and if I just zoom the camera in, you can see that we've got a few icons on the desktop here. We've got Kaspersky, we've got Excel, PowerPoint, Word and Publisher. And they're the ones we're going to be using to check things out with. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so that we can see most of the screen. There we are. Now, we've been asked to test the Windows operating system for functionalities and see what the Windows operating system is first. And get some system information up. Okay, zoom in on that a little bit and so we can see what we've got. And we've got Windows 7 Ultimate with Service Pack 1. No problem with that, so we're using Windows 7 and we're going to see if the software applications open and work as intended, which is the first thing on our brief. So we'll have a look at Publisher. Okay, good. Let's do a blank A4. Zoom out a bit. And we'll just insert a picture. Any picture, doesn't matter. And there we go. Yep. Looks as though that's working fine. So out we go. And we'll do the same for Word. And we'll just type in a little bit of text. Let's increase the font size. Okay, and we'll make it bold and italic and underline. We'll do a strike through as well. And there we are. Yep, that looks fine to me. No problem with that. So, come out of that. We'll do PowerPoint. We'll do a blank presentation. Let's get rid of that. We'll just get rid of that, and we'll just insert a picture. And there it is. We'll add a new slide and insert a picture into that one. Any picture will do. There we go, and we'll view from the beginning. And there's our first picture, there's our second picture, and that's the end of the slideshow. So that's working. There's no problem with that, so we'll come out of that. And we'll do Excel, blank workbook, and basically what we'll do is 1, and then we'll say that equals that plus 1, and then we'll do a Control D and fill down, and then we'll say that this one equals the sum of everything from there to there, and that gives us 171, which is what I would be expecting. I'll zoom in so you can see that. Turn the camera a bit. There we are. So we can say that Excel's working now, and we've satisfied the first bit of our checklist. So let's mark it off. The desktop shortcuts go to the right place. We've already done that by opening the things, but we can have a look and see how we can check them. And if I right click on Publisher and I go to Properties at the bottom of the list there, let me zoom in on that so we can see what we're doing. This is the important thing. So that's telling me that the target is in C, Program Files, Microsoft Office, Root, Office 16, MSPub.exe. Now if I set that to MSBub.exe, I don't know if it'll actually let me, but we'll try it and see. If I set that to MSBub.exe and apply it, there we go. It tells me that I've put no valid file path in. And again, cancel that. And it's put the valid file path back in itself, so we know that's working. That's great. And let's tick off another one. We also need to look and make sure that the correct device drivers are installed now. Let's zoom out so we can see what we're doing here. And we're going to the roundel at the bottom of Windows 7. So, down to the roundel. And I need to look at my device manager. And there it is, device manager. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in on this one so we can see it a little bit. Straighten the camera out. There are three things plugged into this computer that I'm concerned about with the devices, and the first thing is the keyboard. So we're going to have a look. Now it's a USB keyboard, human interface device, keyboard device. So if I click on that, it'll bring up the device properties. And what I want to look at is the driver, just there. Now, here it's telling me what the driver provider is, Microsoft, and the driver date is 06. Now, I'm not too worried about that being old, it's the correct driver for the keyboard. And the driver version is 6.1.7601.17514. That's a correct driver, so yeah, that's fine. Well, let's have a look at the buttons under here. Could update the driver. And I'm going to push the button to see what happens. Search automatically for updated driver software. So that'll search the computer and the internet. Or I could browse my computer for driver software. Don't want to do that because I haven't got any updated driver software on there. Forget that. And it's going to have a look online for software now. It'll probably not find anything, but you never know. Let's see. While it's doing that, we'll have a look at something else. Now, I've got a network adapter in here, and it's a Wi-Fi network adapter. And there it is. The Netgear WNA3100M. So I'm going to look at the driver here. Now, the driver here is provided by Netgear. Good, because it's Netgear's product. The driver date is of 2014. I'm not too worried about that. That's the driver that came on a disc with the adapter. So that's the right driver for it. Driver version 1026.13.625.2014. There are certain meanings to that, but it's mostly impenetrable to us except for the last bit, which is that it was 2014 values. That fits well with Windows 7 32-bit, so we're going to leave that alone. The driver's correct. Cancel that, and while we're at it, we'll have a look at the mouse. We should find that this is a Microsoft driver as well. And there it is. Microsoft 2006 and signed by Microsoft Windows. So that's perfect. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's still searching online for software for drivers for the keyboard, and I'm going to cancel it because I don't actually want a new driver for that keyboard. So, if it'll let me cancel, which it won't, we'll start the task manager and we'll just end the task. And off it goes. Okay. So let's tick off another one because we know the device drivers are installed. The next thing we come to is the keyboard layout. Now the keyboard layout is a particularly fascinating topic. Let's put the keyboard up against the monitor so that we can see it. Just make sure it's not pressing on the LCD panel there. That will be fine. Okay, so we've got the keyboard up against the monitor. We'll pull out a bit so that we can actually see what we've got here. Now, this is a UK keyboard, and how can I tell it's a UK keyboard? We're going to look at the top row of letters, and the top row of letters are the most important thing on the keyboard. You can see it goes Q, W, E, R, T, Y, QWERTY type. Now, being a QWERTY type, it could be a UK keyboard, it could be an American keyboard, it could be Portuguese, it could be Icelandic, or it could be the new style Romanian keyboard. There are certain giveaways to tell us it is a UK keyboard. I'm going to zoom in on a minor giveaway. If I can capture it. Now the minor giveaway I'm zooming in on here is this key with the @ symbol on. On an American keyboard, or on anybody else's keyboard, the @ symbol is actually where the inverted comma is on a UK keyboard, Shift 2. There is a much, much, much bigger giveaway which tells you instantly that this is a UK keyboard. It's there. UK keyboard is the only standard keyboard that has a pound sign on Shift and 3. So, when I come up to a keyboard, I look at it, and if it says QWERTZ on the top row, I know that it's a European style keyboard. If it says AZERTY, I know that it's a French style keyboard. If it says QWERTY, QWERTY, then I know that it may be a UK style keyboard, and the way I can clinch it is by looking at the number 3 key. If it's got a pound on there, it's definitely a UK style keyboard. No doubt about it. So, back to the monitor. I'll put the keyboard down again. And we'll have a look at the keyboard layout. So all this sort of stuff can be found in the control panel. And if I click here and it says change keyboards or other input methods, it brings me up a dialog box with a lot of tabs in. So, I can format my date and time and whatever here. And actually, the 5th requirement is that regional settings, data, time and currency are correct. So we might as well do that while we're here. So the format is English United Kingdom, the date and the time are correct. It is 25/8 on the 24th of September, that's fine. The location is the United Kingdom. The keyboard and language is English United Kingdom. I can also change some key settings here. I don't really want to. There we go. the only thing I've actually got installed there is a United Kingdom keyboard. So yeah, that's fine, because we've already looked and seen. In the additional settings, we can change the numbers. So our decimal symbol here is a point, like it should be. However, in some parts of the world, they use commas instead of points to express decimals. We haven't got that option because we set it up for the United Kingdom. The number of digits after the decimal, 2, seems fairly reasonable. And the digit grouping symbol is a comma. Yep, that's fine. Negative sign symbol is a negative. That's great. Okay. Now, the last thing we've got to check is the currency. And the currency symbol is in pound. I could have it in dollars, or I could have it in euros. But it's the United Kingdom, so it wants to be in pounds. There we go. And the positive currency format is £1.1, and the negative currency format is minus £1.1, just like it should be, and that's fine. The time, as we've already looked at, 1936. Fine, by my watch. Definitely 1936, and the date, 24th September 2017. That seems to be fine. So, cancel everything because we don't need to change anything. Coming out of the control panel, back down. And we can tick off the keyboard layout is correct, and the regional settings, data, time and currency are correct. So now we're going to go on to task 2, which is where we're setting up a computer to be used exclusively by a visually impaired user. And we've been asked to configure the software to meet their requirements. So these are a weekly scheduled virus scan which should run each Wednesday morning at 10 AM. Okay, let's move the camera up and you'll see that we've got Kaspersky running on here. So I'm going to open Kaspersky and zoom the camera out so we can see what we've got. On Kaspersky, the scan is there. And right at the bottom of this box, which you can't quite see because I haven't got the camera in the right place, there we are, right at the bottom of this box is the scan schedule. So click on the scan schedule to do a full scan, and it's going to ask me for a password. At the moment it does a scan every day at 4 AM, and that's the way I set it up. I'm not usually awake at 4 AM, so I want it to be doing that while I'm not using the computer. But we need to set it up, according to the brief, Wednesday morning at 10 AM. So instead of every day, let's zoom in so we can see it a little bit better. Instead of every day, weekly. And the day of the week is Wednesday, and the time we set directly to 10 AM. I hope that actually can't, so we'll do it the hard way by the scroll bar. 10 AM. There are two things here that we need to look at. Run the scheduled scan on the next day if the computer is turned off. We want to do that. If the computer's been turned off Wednesday at 10, it'll do it at Thursday at 10 instead. So we'll leave that ticked. And then it says run scheduled scan only when the screensaver is active or computer is locked. We don't want to do that. A user might be using it. Running a scan in the background won't affect his experience too much. So we'll leave that unticked and we'll save. There we are. And we've set up Kaspersky. The user would like to access the internet using the Google Chrome browser and the MSN homepage. Now, Google Chrome browser is not already installed on this computer, and the reason for that is I dislike Chrome intensely. So what we would do is we'd use another browser, and in this case it's Firefox. Normally it would be Internet Explorer if it's a new install, and that's what comes bundled with Windows. And we'd go to Chrome website, download Chrome. Now, if I clicked on that big blue button there, it would download Chrome, but I've already done it. And as you can see, if I zoom in, a little bit more, there is the Chrome setup. It's an exe file. So let's run it, see what we get. Oh, it's doing something. There we are. Do I want to run this file? Its publisher is Google Inc. and it's an application, and of course I trust it because it's Google, so run. And of course the user account control comes up and asks me if I want to allow the following program to make changes to this computer. Yes, I do. So let's shut that. Let's shut that. Oops, looks as though I've done it twice. And now it will download Chrome onto this computer. And as you can see, it says 7 minutes remaining. 6 minutes remaining. This lies. I have a very slow internet connection here and it fluctuates a little bit. And usually I find that you can double the time and add a little bit on. So it's probably going to be about a quarter of an hour before this is downloaded. So I'm going to pause the film here, and once it's downloaded and it's started up and running again, we'll get on it. Now with just a few seconds remaining, welcome back. So we're going to see what happens next. Download complete and installing. If you can see there, but you'll not see now. Chrome has actually come up and an icon has appeared on the desktop for Google Chrome. So it's also in the taskbar. Okay, so don't want to sign into Google Chrome. And what we're going to do is we're going to type in a URL. In fact, we're not going to type in a URL, we're going to type in a search term to find a URL, which is that one. And that will let me visit this site. And Chrome does not support Adobe Flash Player, which is one reason I do not like it. So that's going to be problematic with this site. So what we'll do is we'll visit another site. Now that's come up, that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. So we'll take it that Chrome is working and we'll look at what the home page and startup is. Now it looks as though the startup is Google, and we don't want it to be Google, we want it to be MSN according to the brief. So we need to do is we need to go into the settings here in Chrome. Now, once you put Chrome on, amongst quite a lot of the baggage it's got, the home button here is always disabled. So we need to switch it on. We need to enter the custom web address, and to do that we need to find out what the URL for MSN is. And it's that one. So we'll copy that back to Chrome. There we go. The home button is msn.com engb, and we also need the startup. Manage on startup pages. Pages to open on startup. Open up a specific set of pages. MSN. Okay. And so what I'm going to do now, and I have shut it down properly, is I'm going to open it up again, and hopefully the start page should be MSN. Let's see. Well, it's looking hopeful. And there it is, MSN. Okay. If I open a new tab, it will of course default to Google. But if I click on the home button, it should go back to MSN. So let's try and see. Good. So we can now tick that off our checklist as well. Now the next requirement we have for our user according to this brief is that a high contrast desktop theme should be used. So what we need to do is we need to go to the control panel, and I'll just zoom in a bit so you can see where we're going here. There's a bit here that says change the theme. So we click on that. If we look down, we've got all our Aero themes here. These are the advanced themes for Windows 7. I don't use them very often because they tend to gobble up the memory a little bit, and there's not really much benefit to them. And underneath that we have the basic and high contrast themes. Now I use a desktop background of a solid colour, which is black, and it makes my icons stand out a little, but it doesn't do anything for my applications. So let's zoom out so you can see those. I'm very sorry. There we are. The Aero themes up there, and the basic and high contrast themes there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the very high contrast, which is black and white. And if I do this, and it now turns everything into black and white. If I open any piece of software, WinWord will do. You can see that it's gone into very high contrast there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the high contrast theme off so we can see the difference. Might take a wee while to do this. And there it is, there's the difference. I'll switch the high contrast theme back on again. Oops. And the way you do that is you press Alt, left Alt that is, Shift, and print screen at the same time. Now, to me that would be very, very, very annoying. It's far too bright, and I'm not sure what the visually impaired person would make of it, but it's not going to do the screen a great deal of good either if it's running that bright all the time. So, off goes the high contrast screen again, and what we're going to do is we're going to pick a different high contrast screen, which is much easier on the eyes and probably a lot easier on the screen as well. So we're going back to the control panel, and we're going back to change the theme, and instead of picking the high contrast black and white, we're going to have the yellow on black. And there it is. So let's open Word again. And let's switch the high contrast theme off so we can see the difference. And back on. There we are. Now if it proves that that high contrast theme is not high contrasty enough for our visually impaired person, then we'll probably have to go to the high contrast black and white. But that's very, very easy for me to see. Very easy indeed. So we'll leave it at that for the time being. Now, the next requirement we have on our brief is that the user is left-handed and would prefer the left and right mouse buttons to be switched over. Now, that's probably one of the easiest things we've got on here, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into the control panel again, just there. In the control panel, there's a section called Hardware and Sound. And in the section of Hardware and Sound, there's a bit for the mouse. So, we click on that, and it brings up the dialog for the mouse, where we can change the mouse settings if we so want. Let's zoom in and see what we've got. Right at the top there's the button configuration to switch our primary and secondary buttons over. And if I click it like that, and then I click OK, and what will happen if I click the left button, as I normally do, to shut this down, is it won't work. So I have to click the right button, and there it is. Okay. Now, if I bring the mouse up so that we can see where we are. There's the left button, there's the right button. Let's just coax the cursor onto a piece of software. Sorry, this is very difficult. The mouse has got a very short trail there. I'm going to move the camera so that we can capture the mouse and the screen at the same point. And as you'll see, I'm on Publisher. Left clicking does what the right button used to do, whereas right clicking, let's get rid of that, whereas right clicking does what the left button used to do. So that works. Now the last thing we're required to do here is that we're required to add a shortcut to the C drive or main hard drive to the desktop. Well, that's fine. So what we'll do is we'll go into the tree here, and we'll look at the C drive, and we'll just drag a copy out onto the desktop. And we'll rename it Hard Drive. Put it up there, and we'll zoom in so we can see it a little bit now. I've renamed it. We don't walk away without testing anything, so what we're going to do is we're going to click on it, and there we are. Takes us straight to the C drive. So we know that works, and that's the last thing we have to do. So there we are. We've set the virus scanner to run each Wednesday morning at 10 AM. We put Chrome browser on there and set MSN as the home page. We've used a high contrast desktop theme, the yellow and black. Let's just have another look at that and see what it does. It doesn't have any effect on Kaspersky, but it does on all the others. We've set the button for a left-handed user, and we've added the shortcut there to the C drive. That fulfills our criteria, and so that's the end of the video, and we can put the kettle on and make a cup of tea.